Hey everyone. So welcome to Rendezvous. We're gonna play some music and then talk about legacy. So, um, a uh, good guy I know has just passed away. I've been told, um, and so he's the uncle of a good friend of mine, and so I remember like some he gave me some pretty powerful advice when I was like 20. Um, and so I thought and this is Jimmy Georgiadis. So may you be well, Jimmy, wherever you're flying off to. Um, and so yeah, I'll just tell that briefly. That's kind of story, and then maybe just riff on that a bit, like following that thought. Basically, I was like, I remember being 20 and being like, oh, everything's meaningless. What does it all mean? And a friend of mine being like, yeah, more or less what I remember of what he said was like, it's all kind of about, having, sh- fairly short term goals, just having, and longer term, but just giving yourself goals to work towards and, that kind of thing. And said to him, yeah, but why? What's the point of that? Like, yeah, it'll make you feel good. But what's the point of that, Um, and I'm not sure if he had good points and I just couldn't appreciate them, but I remember not feeling particularly satisfied with that idea. Although in hindsight, I think there's a lot of wisdom to having a structure of goals and stuff. But anyway, and not long after, I was in Holland at Jimmy's house, and him just kind of casually saying at some point in the conversation, like with a group of people there, yeah, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? At the end of the day, um, being a better example for others. Um, and I think you may have just said it's all about being a better example. And so that struck me pretty powerfully. Like, oh, interesting, right? Yeah, that seems to make sense. Um, and then part of me might have thought like, yeah, but why? Like, what does it matter to help out others? Like, give them a better example and lift them up towards some direction. Like, if it's all meaningless. But then I think something about like getting out of the narcissism there of like, well, yeah, what's the point of helping others get out of their shit? It's like, well, I don't know. It seems better than we're just sitting here doubting and asking for definitive answers from the universe. Like, well, why not? Why don't I keep doing art, looking for those answers? But in the meantime, just oh yeah, I'll be helpful to others. And whether that's ultimately illusory, there's no point in it or not. Well, I'm not sure right now, so I may as well kind of lean into like, yeah, be a good example and kind of help people. And so I think that was a very simple kind of thing, but kind of helped me reset, I think. And so I think, and so now this guy Jimmy has passed on, uh, and so you could think so he was being his best example to others. He had a family, he has a family, and so he's been an example to them, and he's been an example to his friends and to say people like me who are more distant, and strangers who he's come into contact with, and we can all do that. And whether we intend to do it or not, we are being an example. We can be a good example or a bad example, but we are all being examples to each other. And when you say, oh, it's human nature, I was like, well, what do you know about that? Oh, based on all the interactions you have with people every day, a lot of them random people. So um, being a good example can go a long way, I think. And so that's like I didn't know him too well, so I don't really know his legacy, like what he leaves behind. Apart from I know he's got a family, and I know he's pretty insightful, kind of deep, kind, but guy. I don't know him too well, like I say, but like a good guy, and so that's I'm sure he's got a legacy of positive momentum that he's caused by that, set into motion, um, and he's been an example to others. So there's all these lives, and that when all of us leave this earth, we will be leaving behind the legacy of the impact we've had on others, and the way that will keep living on after us, whether our children and their children, and all like strangers we've met and the children of those strangers and all that. Um, and but then also, we can whatever we're building, like you can. I think it's worthy to, yeah, like just think from the in moments of lucidity, it seemed to me like, oh, everything's perfect. I don't need to do anything. And then from that place of contentment, there's a certain playful kind of itch to be like, oh yeah, let's go do something. Let's go create some stuff. And it's just the joy of creation and the joy of living, of just experiencing and expressing this. And so I think that can be a good legacy, like powerful and good, worthy of like, yeah, leaving the world better than we found it. And yet, there's a certain, you can take that the wrong way where you like seek immortality and it's fear based, where you're kind of seeking immortality, even though it's, like, oh yeah, I'm going to create some big empire and pass it on to my children and they will be kind of like me living on. It's like, yeah, does that satisfy you, your fear of death? Like, probably not. Um, so I think it's kind of like an underwhelming immortality in that sense. So it's got to be just for the sake of it, not to fill in some hole of like, yeah, I want to live forever, but just like, well, just a gift, just for fun, just for love, just for playfulness, for compassion, and just to try make the world more beautiful and more kind and more happy for everyone, and healthy, helping nature, helping civilization, helping culture, helping creativity, just people, whatever, having a good time with people, laughing. But yeah, so I think kind of like the legacy, it seems to me like what you leave behind, that's really important, and you're helping other people have a better game, so that's a gift. And so it's definitely amazing. Like we benefit so much from the legacy of the people who've come before us, the wisdom, the teachers of, the words of wisdom we have, the buildings, the beautiful buildings and artworks and technology and philosophies and systems of law and, uh, um, you know, all kinds of stuff. And so we, can give that gift on to the future, and that's a beautiful thing. But it's not enough in itself. I think it's like probably a necessary but not sufficient condition for fulfilled life. Like, so you're leaving something behind, but imagine if that's all it is. Like, oh, okay, I leave something behind for my children or the next generation. And then, well, what's the point of that? What's the point of making them happy? Well, because they're doing their best to make the next generation happy. It's like, well, so we're just turtles all the way down. We're all just some future, hypothetical future generation, which never actually gets reached, is going to benefit from these things. But the point of each generation is to provide for the next one. I think that's more of like an animal drive that's been put into us by biology, just because it was useful to help us propagate, which is beautiful. It can seem very limited and depressing from one point of view, but on the higher perspective, it's amazing because the soul is still there all throughout that process. So there's this incredibly mundane, like, oh, it's just like, practical, logistics of evolution. But then it's that and the spiritual bliss. And so it's even better than just spiritual bliss because it's you get both this dynamics, this stretching of the bandwidth of experience there. Anyway, but so yeah, I think like that impulse to have a legacy or improve things is partly like an animal instinct thing, and cultural instinct, I guess. But but it's very good and it's helpful, and so and that's part in that being a better example for others is kind of part of that. Just with your own self, you're helping your environment, and then on top of that, you can actually go and do things, and more like build stuff or create stuff or maintain stuff or destroy stuff, whatever's useful, and uh, reform stuff as well. And but I think, uh, yeah, basically, I think, yeah, like it's about enjoying the process, and it seems like, say, like having a legacy, that's beautiful and a necessary thing to like give something to the future, but it becomes sufficient for like purpose when it's combined with the enjoyment of just the process, the journey. And like, what's the point of, is the point of each generation to take care of the next one? No, maybe it's to do that and to just enjoy being here and expressing and experiencing life. And so I think, um, if each of us can have fun here and if try to plumb deep into like joy and feel real joy while we're not being narcissistic, and we're thinking of others and trying to be our best example we can for others, to help others. Many people are having a hard time, on the edge and not quite sure what's what, or lacking motivation or vision or whatever, and helping, everyone kind of groove along and get along. So doing that, but yeah, so if we can enjoy, and being able to enjoy it then makes your contributions even better. And your contributions make your enjoyment even better. They kind of balance out, like self and other. And I do think like being a better example for others, it begins as like, it seems like a kind of like, oh, okay, so it's not about me, it's about others. Okay, fair enough. Like, But the funny thing is like that, it's almost like it has to be that way. Like, but then that sets a certain structure, which ends up making you feel really good. And so it actually is about you as well, and it's not just about contributing, it's about enjoying your life, but like being a better example for others, having others in mind while you're pursuing your own self-interest. It's like, it seems like that's the only way to really actually get to your real self-interest, rather than some shallow um, caricature of your self-interest. Um, so, yep, I think that's all I kind of wanted to say. Like, it's the idea of what do we leave behind, and thinking about how death will come to all of us. And often that idea doesn't quite hit home, I think. Like, we don't really like to kind of let that, register in our bones and our body and go, oh, this, whatever this is, this wasn't here forever. Like, I'm 31, so 32 years ago, it was different, wasn't it, or, and yeah, and after this, I'll be gone. And I believe, the consciousness, who I am, who you are, we go off to some next adventure. But I don't know what that is right now. But but for sure, death is coming, and so it's like I think it's, yeah, good to think about, like, what do you want when on your deathbed? What do you want the world, the flow of causation and history, and just the way things are, the momentum of life on Earth? What would you like it to be, and what could you contribute to try to make it kind of like that dream, that vision? And what can you do which you would enjoy doing? And kind of comes back to that triple thing I sometimes think about, of like, purpose in life, what it might involve being something you're good at, something which, was it something you're good at, something you enjoy doing, and something that is financially rewarding. Then we might add in another one there of like something that's good for the planet. But I would say probably if you're good at it and you enjoy it and it's financially rewarding, via the wonders of capitalism, um, basically being a decentralized network where people are doing that, I think where you can only make money if you're solving someone's problem, then naturally that we kind of take that kind of takes care of itself. But yeah, so living, may we all live and enjoy the process and the journey, and may we all take eudaimonia to heart and human flourishing, and that requires an elevated eye, which is not just focused on pleasure and the self, but on others and their experience, and by helping everyone and kind of keeping the big picture in mind, being a better example for others, and being a helping hand for others, we will find that we are one of those others who's being helped in the process. So that's it. All right. So rest in peace to all those who pass, and let's live in peace, everyone else. Bye for now.